Terrance McKinney has just suffered his third loss in the UFC, and I think he's done. I think it's over for him. He clearly doesn't train, clearly doesn't work on his cardio, because that's probably his biggest problem. All he does is sit on Twitter and tweet with his little fingers. It was a fluke win. It was this. It was that. Like, no, bro. Like, if it was one actual fluke win, sure. But he's losing half his fights in the UFC. He's clearly not a top contender. When everybody said he was going to be some threat in the UFC, everyone said all this, said that. I think Joe Rogan said a bunch of crap about him too, that he's going to be the next big thing. Like, it's not going to work if you don't put in the work for it. Remember when he joined the UFC? They made this huge thing of he lost on, what was it, Dana White's Contender Series or whatever it was, and then comes back to a UFC. On his debut, he gets a 7-second knockout, like the fastest in lightweight history, and there was so much hype around this guy. And then it's only been a couple of years, and his hype is completely derailed, and now everyone's calling him a fraud. Everyone's saying this. I don't think he was really a fraud because he didn't really beat anybody. I don't think much people really said... I mean, a lot of people did say he was going to be a threat and stuff like that, but no one ever said that he was going to be some champion, he's going to be this, he's going to be that. But he just doesn't put in the work for it, bro. He sits on Twitter all day, doesn't work his cardio. Dude, his cardio is so freaking bad. He has one round of cardio in him. If he doesn't win in the first round, he's done. He's done. Maybe he can get a second round knockout or quick submission, but he gasses out so fast. So he does everything in the first round, and then second and third round, he has nothing for anybody. But at least credit to him for one thing, he's never gone to a decision once. He's either a finish or be finished type of fighter. So at least he's exciting in that point. But like, you can't rely on him for anything. He's like a 50-50 fighter where, what are you going to do if you're trying to bet on him? Are you going to bet on him? The only thing you can bet on is a first round finish. And if that doesn't come true, you have to start pulling your money back because you know it's going downhill from there. And this guy pisses me off so much. He just has a bunch of excuses on why he lost and this and this and that. Like, bro, if you lost, you got submitted. Like, there's no excuse. I can only understand his excuse for the last performance where he got submitted because the guy was grabbing the fence. But, bro, like, you were out. You were done. Like, it was the second round already. You didn't have the cardio to even defend whatsoever. Calls it a fluke win. Gets his arm trap behind his back. That's not a fluke win. That was a clean submission from whatever the other guy's name is. Like, that's not a fluke. You shouldn't be tweeting about this. You should be tweeting like, oh, I should be getting better. Oh, you know, tough loss, but I should learn, you know, to get better and this and that. That's how you get better, and that's how you actually become a top-ranked contender. But these guys that just think that they're the best, and then once they start losing, calling it a fluke, calling it this, calling it that. That's like Conor McGregor when he called the Dustin Poirier fight a fluke, the second one. He's like, it was a fluke win, it was a fluke win. No, bro, like, Dustin Poirier pieced you up and knocked you out. And same thing for Terrance McKinney. He's just calling everything a fluke. He couldn't beat Drew Dober. I understand his Giga Chad Drew Dober, but he rocked him really bad, but he tried to rush to finish so bad, gassed himself out in the first round, and ended up getting finished by Drew Dober. Like, as Giga Chad, you can't really knock him out, but like, you can't rush to finish so hard on someone like Drew Dober. But it just shows the inexperience. You know, these Spokane guys, they really ain't shit. Him and freaking Michael Chiesa both are shit. Michael Chiesa is overhyped, gets submitted by Kevin Lee of all people, and then complains that I never tapped. He was literally asleep already, and then wakes up and starts saying that he didn't tap. Like, this guy's from Spokane, that camp, whatever camp he's from, freaking shithole. Nobody from there is good. Like, they all suck. Terrance was a can crusher at best, and we were all stupid for giving him the attention that he didn't deserve, because it clearly got to his head. Now he thinks he's the best fighter, blah, blah, blah. He thinks that he doesn't have to improve. Like, he has so much stuff he needs to improve on, and yet he just chooses not to and just chooses to tweet instead. That's freaking annoying, man. I can't stand fighters like that. I hope he gets cut. Or I don't think he's going to get cut this time. I think if he loses one more time in a row, he's going to get cut again from the UFC. And then he's going to have another comeback. Like, sure, he's young. That's the only good thing. He's young. He's like 28 years old. So, you know, maybe it's just the arrogance of being young and being in the UFC getting to him. But who knows, man? Like, you just don't know what to do with these guys. Like, he's like Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee thought he was the shit. Kevin Lee thought he was, you know, a big dog. But Kevin Lee was actually beating ranked opponents. You know what I mean? I don't think Terrance has ever been ranked at all. And when he fought Drew Dober, I can't remember if he was ranked. Maybe Drew was ranked, or they were just out of the rankings. and he loses. Like, he can't even get these ranked opponents. At least someone like Kevin Lee was beating ranked opponents. Kevin Lee was in the interim title fight with Tony Ferguson. He made it close. He made a good fight. You know, Kevin Lee now has that main character syndrome where he thinks he's everything. He thinks he's this, he's that. The losses weren't real, and he's just, man, it sucks. It sucks, man. Like, when you get a hype train like this, he looks like he's interesting. He looks like he's good. And then he just gets derailed so hard, and the delusion is crazy from these guys. Like, maybe it's the CTE from getting knocked out like 7 times already, or who knows, man. Man, it sucks. It sucks. I really want to see some of these young guys do good, but it just gets to them. Like, the hype, maybe it's the money, maybe it's the fame, whatever it is, it gets to them. And it just messes with their brains, man. It just sucks. And I can sit here and get mad at him and say all this stuff, but like, I kind of just feel bad for him at this point, because there's so much fighters that are like that. They get so much hype, you know, from their UFC debut or from their first 2-3 fights in the UFC, and they start making that money. They start changing their lifestyle, and then after 3-4 fights, all of a sudden they start getting losses here. They get another loss, another loss, another loss. You know, he's 6 fights in the UFC. He's 3-3. Like, you start to get used to that lifestyle with money, with this, and like, how does he adjust to this? Like, he has to readjust his lifestyle because he's not getting the win bonus every time. He's probably making pretty decent money from his contract, but who knows, actually. He might not even be making, he'd probably making 40-50K per fight, but he shows up, at least he shows up pretty often. So, oh man, there's like, what is he going to do about it? If he loses his next fight, gets cut, goes back to 5 for 5, and what is he going to do? He has no money. He's living on the streets of Spokane, basically. He's going to be a homeless bum. So I just hope that he does good at his next fight, because he's trying to say that he's going to be back fast because he didn't really take too much damage, which is probably the right thing to do. But like, what happens if he loses? He's done. You know, he looks super scared to strike with his last opponent. Well, because Bonfim knocked him out cold. Like, you don't come back from a knockout like that, especially so young. Like, if he was 36, already had a huge career, a long career, and ends up getting knocked out, like, sure, that's whatever. But he's only 28 years old. He's, you know, fought on the regional scene a bunch, but he's only had 6 fights in the UFC. Gets TKO'd by Drew Dober. I think he lost a submission in the UFC too, but I'm not. Oh yeah, so this last one was a submission, and then Bonfim knocks him out cold. Like, he was dead on the floor. You know, a little bit stiff too. Like, you don't come back from a knockout like that. And I remember I watched the MMA Guru's video on it, and he was saying, like, you don't come back from a KO loss like that. You don't come back from it. And it really showed, because in this fight, he was super scared, so he just relied on his wrestling. That's all he did. He didn't try to strike whatsoever, when usually he tries to strike at least a little bit, and then he'll try to go for wrestling. But it's clear that he's still scared of the chin getting clipped, because he is a little bit chinny, you know. People call him, what do they call him, Terrance McKinney. That's pretty good on him. But, you know, he's obviously scared of his chin. He's well aware of it, that it's not the best, and that he can get knocked out cold like that. I just think that Bonfim literally killed his whole career, killed all of his hype, and Bonfim sucks too. Like, it's not even a good opponent. If he got knocked out by some top 5 opponent, whatever, sure. But it's by Bonfim. He freaking sucks. He just got exposed in his last fight too. So, man, I guess we'll just have to see how it goes with Terrance McKinney, I guess. I think he's been overhyped. His hype has been derailed, and I think it's kind of over for him. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think it's over for him, but we'll see how it goes from here. All right, peace, guys.